All right, welcome. We are talking about 2.4 rational equations. Take a moment here and pause the video if you want to get this definition. Equations where a variable can be found in the denominator. And so as we look here to sort of look at this section, we're really looking at equations that have a denominator, and occasionally we have to consider when the variable goes to zero or the expression goes to zero. So we start with this definition. And again, throughout this video, pause it if I go too fast, but make sure you get the definition as such. All right, so let's get right to it. They are special because we have to check to see if all real numbers work in this particular equation. And one of the things I'll note here is when you have a denominator, why is this not writing? There we go. Let's edit that out. Okay. Misforcing. Let's edit that out. When you have a denominator with a variable in it, this can never be zero. For example, here's why. Remember back in the day when we learned that 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And then we said, what's the opposite? Well, we said 6 divided by 3 was equal to 2. And 6 divided by 2 was equal to 3. That all made sense to us. Well, if we have 6 times 0, we know that that is 0. But 0 divided by 6, that's also 0. 0 divided by 6, 0. However, 6 divided by 0, that created a problem for us. 6 divided by 0. Because what number here times 0 equals 6? There's never going to be a number times 0 that's going to equal 6. And so it turned out that when you divide by 0, this is always undefined. Now, I just review that because we've already learned that, but we can't have 0 in the denominator. And so just a quick review on that. Let's start with how do we solve these equations? Well, first of all, we solve them by thinking this is a proportion. And we're going to cross multiply here. That should be something that we remember from junior high. However, if you don't, this is a good refresher course. 4 times k is 4k. And 2 times 9 is 18. And so our answer becomes, when we divide by 4, k is equal to the fraction 8 over 4, which reduces to 9 over 2. Not only is the answer important, but we also have to note what what k cannot be. And in this case, k cannot equal 0. Let's now go to a couple other examples. So here's a couple other examples. The first one, again, you have a fraction equal to a fraction, and we're going to cross multiply eventually. But first, we have to note that there is an expression with a variable in the denominator. This expression off to the side can never equal what number? 0. And so off to the side, we go ahead and solve for when that's going to be 0. And in this case, r cannot be 4. So that's part of the process of solving rational equations. We have to write the values that are excluded. And in this case, the value that's excluded from this particular solution set is 4. Then in red, we can go ahead and start to solve like we did before by cross multiplying. So the first step is let's solve and find the excluded values. The second step, let's go ahead and solve like we normally would. 6 times r minus 4 is equal to 3 times 8. We just distribute. and we multiply. And we just do our regular math. $48 divided by 6. If I go too fast, just pause the video, and this becomes an 8. Double check to make sure, but our two solutions are R is 8 and R cannot equal 4. You have to be able to designate what R is and what R can't be. So this is a good chance for you to pause the video and try this one in a similar way. So pause it now and try that one. All right, we're back. We're back. You pause the video and let's see if you have the right answer. Now for time purposes, I'm going to show you what you can also do to save some space. So I'm moving the h's over and the 42 over here, and that reduces to 0. That reduces to 0. Hopefully you see that. Pause it, rewind it, see what I did. Just combine two steps into one because I'm going to run out of room here. Okay. All right, we left off with our turn here. I gave you a chance to do two problems based on what we've learned so far, rational equations. We do have to consider that we see an x here and here in the two fractions. And so we want to first write out the excluded values that may make those things go to 0. So for example, I'm going to take this expression x plus 3, which happens to be here, and over here, I'm going to go x plus 3. Well, we don't want that to ever be 0. And so we find that when we solve that simple equation, that occurs when x is equal to -3. So the first part is writing out the excluded value, and that is -3. And we can do a simple one-step equation to figure that out. Now, having said that, the rest of it is just solving like we did in the previous problems, which was cross multiplying. Anytime you have two fractions that are equal to one another, we could cross multiply and then use our properties. For example, I'm going to go ahead and write this out as 8 parentheses x plus 3 is equal to 4 times x plus 3. And then I'm just going to go ahead and distribute in each case. The distributive property says this becomes 8x plus 24. This becomes 4x plus 12. And I'm going to solve this multi-step equation like I learned earlier in the unit. And as I get near the end, I find that x is equal to a -3. There is a problem. That is one of the excluded values. And so, having seen that we cannot have -3 go for x because it makes the denominator go to 0. This particular problem, we have no solution. And so because this is the excluded value, this one, there is no solution, otherwise known as the empty set. You'll see that sometimes. Okay? All right, remember, as always, pause the video, rewind it if I went too fast. We're going to go on to the second one. This is one that you also had a chance to try on your own. Let's see if you were able to get the correct answer. First step, I noticed I have a 5 and an 8, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 over here. And someone out there should be saying, wait a minute, you're forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Well, I am forgetting that I have to take this and I have to find the value to which is going to be excluded. So I should have started with that first before I did this. Let's do that real quick. Typically very simple equation. And x cannot be a negative 2/3. X cannot be a negative 2/3. Okay, I should have done that first, so let's return to the actual solving part. So that goes to 0, and I'm left with negative 33 over negative 3x minus 2 is equal to a 3. Now I write that as 3 over 1 because now you can see by writing this 3 as 3 over 1, I can see that I have a proportion and I can cross multiply. And as I do, I just repeat the same thing I just got done doing. Just do my math. Hopefully no mistakes there. Keep going. Negative 9x. Again, pause the video, stop the video if I go too fast. All this should be reviewed, what I'm doing now. Use a calculator for some of these to double check if you need to. And I find my answer is x is equal to 3. This is not the same as that, so that is my answer. We do have a solution, and that solution is 3. This concludes the video on rational equations 2.4. First of all, when you have fractions and you have variables in the denominators, make sure you determine the values that you have to exclude. Man, I've worked hard. Oh, I'm tired. Time for me to go. Till next time, people.